Oh, welcome back. It is a happy day. Football is upon us. The NFL starts tonight.
NFL is back. College football's back. We're back.
That's right.
We're back.
We got a lot of good stuff for you here today. Thank you for tuning in to a Fumblegate. We appreciate your continued support here as we get our third season underway here on the show, and that's pretty fun to say.
Yeah.
We've been going for 3 years. Names, Twitter handles at the bottom of the screen, so make sure that you're giving us a follow on the Twitter and, of course, on our YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video, and hit the little bell notification thing so that when a video pops up, you're automatically notified on your mobile device so you can watch immediately. So we try and make it as easy for you as we can. So obviously a lot to get to here today. We know the college football season has already started, but we are going to give you our picks for the college football playoff, as all the games that have taken place already have not had any bearing on our picks.
No, we just want to clear it up a little bit, though.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little affirmation that Alabama didn't fall off the wagon and lose to everything.
That's correct.
Alabama's still Alabama. What a surprise.
Them and everybody else. So we'll get you that here in just a moment. We're actually going to do the top right here in just a moment here, and we'll also have our NFL preview, some of the storylines that are going on. We'll talk about things like, what do the Colts do now that Andrew Luck has said see you bye? The money being thrown around to two particular guys. Do they live up to it? And also, towards the end of the show, we'll give you our picks for the conference championship games, and we'll also tell you who's going to win Super Bowl 54. And if you followed the show in the past, he and I, Adam and I, tend to think along the same lines as far as those things go. Not today. Not necessarily today.
No, we're similar. We're similar,
but a little different.
I just want to add a little drama to the show. It's more fun that way.
Right, because I always I let you know ahead of time who my picks are.
Yeah, and I don't like picking chalk as much as you do. Like I like to be a little fancy.
Okay, so
sometimes I make stuff up as I go, but it's cool.
Well, All right, so we'll start right off into it, and let's throw it out there. We said we talk about who the college football playoff, and it looked like as we started the season it was going to be just a battle of the heavyweights, and it seemingly looked like with the way these schedules are set up for these teams and the way these teams are set up at the top, that one loss may be all it takes to knock you out. It looks like a lot of these teams toward the top have the potential to run the table.
Yeah,
going into the conference title.
I agree, and here's the deal, and we're going to take a look at it here in a second. I got 3 teams undefeated in the national championship picture.
Yep.
In the college football playoff, that is. I just there's some, and we did the same thing last year when we talked about last year. We picked the conference champions, and we picked chalk on almost all of them. We agreed on I think all of them, because you just don't see anything on the schedule that's going to trip these teams up. And to me, then it comes down to, is a team from the outside who may potentially be undefeated or even a one-loss team, like a team from the Pac-12, going to somehow sneak into the college football playoff. And if it plays out the way that we think it's going to play out, I don't think there's any way that an outsider who hasn't been in the college football playoff yet, like a team from the Pac-12, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that the committee has seen the games they get by putting these teams in, and you're going to see our picks here. It makes it easy for them to say, hey, that team is worthy because they've seen them do it before. Yeah, and I don't see any reason why that's not going to happen again. Particularly, like I said, I got 3 teams that are undefeated. I know you have 3 teams that are going to end the season undefeated in your mind. I don't know how you exclude a one-loss team, and you're going to look at it here. I don't know how you exclude a one-loss team from the SEC over like a one-loss team from the Pac-12. Like, how does that Pac-12 team jump an SEC team with one loss? I don't think you can do it.
No, I don't think you can do it either. And I thought the Pac-12, if they were going to get a team in, it was going to be Oregon. And they wound up losing to Auburn, in the waning seconds. And you look at that conference and the way it's set up and the way the quality of teams are out there, there's not enough quality wins.
No, you can't get enough quality wins coming out of the Pac-12. And unfortunately, even an undefeated team, right now, unfortunately, the Pac-12 is in a similar situation to UCF when UCF's running the table and going undefeated.
Yep.
there's just not enough quality wins on the table out there. Like, and I think you've seen in the past with when you have put Pac-12 teams in the BCS, they saved back all the way to the USC teams back in the early 2000s. That was the last time that you really saw a Pac-12 team that could compete consistently on a national stage against the upper echelon teams from other leagues, the SEC and the Big 12 and so on. I just don't see it, like, particularly this year. Like you mentioned, Oregon was going to have a shot at it. Maybe Washington if they run the table. But I don't know if that happens either. I think that's the other thing, too, is that the cream doesn't always rise to the top in the Pac-12. There's too much parity, and the teams are too closely matched. And there's no elite team that's going to run the table.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you don't have those two things, if you don't have a strong conference in general and an elite team at the top of it, a la Alabama in the past few years, Clemson, obviously, I don't see how the committee is going to be able to say, oh, yeah, that Pac-12 team's really good, especially on the national stage, because I don't see it happening.
Well, like you said, it's a great point with the Pac-12 that a lot of the teams are very even. Nobody is really separating themselves from the pack. And the problem with that is there are a lot of, like you said, there's no elite team in that. They're all decent to good teams towards the top of the Pac-12. Your Oregons, your Washingtons, your Stanfords, Utah also. But there's just outside of that, and I think it's a smart thing for Oregon to set up a neutral site game with an Auburn or with an SEC school.
I mean, that was the move for them to have a shot.
Which they've done in the past when they've played LSU before to begin the season and what have you. And so because of that, and they didn't get the job done, came close but couldn't get the job done, it spells trouble for them. And so here you go. We'll just go right to it. Here's our picks for the college football playoff, and no surprise that Clemson's going to run the table because the ACC is still garbage.
They're trash, but again, like we just mentioned, like the cream of the crop in the ACC, and obviously they compete on the national stage, is Clemson.
Yeah.
And them running the table makes them the clear favorite to be the number one seed in the college football playoff.
So you see some of the differences there going forward, and I think for me the big thing that I had on top of Ohio State being in there, because I don't see Ohio State having a real challenge through much of the season.
They have more of a challenge than Oklahoma does.
They do have to go to Northwestern, which is always a tough place to play, and Northwestern has started to invest more to try to build themselves up to be a perennial contender. Not saying they will be, but they're
Northwestern's
trying.
better. They have to play Michigan State, who has a very, very good run defense. I don't know if you saw the result from last week. They held
against Tulsa
to negative 72 rushing yards
the
game. So obviously their run defense is pretty good. Now Tulsa doesn't necessarily run the ball, but they got a pretty decent run defense, and we knew they would. They probably have the best defensive end in the country. And they have to go to Michigan to finish the season, and I still think Michigan is severely overrated, but it's still a rivalry game. And if by chance that is a game between two undefeated teams, you never know what's going to happen. You really don't. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen regardless. I mean, Michigan could be 6-5 going to that game, and they're still going to give them the best game they got.
Absolutely.
But I don't see Ohio State running the table, and two, Oklahoma just has an easier path even if they do.
The Big 12,
Oklahoma's path is way easier to go undefeated. And again, when it goes back to how have they shown up when it comes to the college football playoff, Ohio State's performance in the college football playoff versus Oklahoma's has been kind of similar, but at the end of the day, like, star power wins out, and Jalen Hurts, after what he did in week 1, I think, both of them are undefeated. I think that you gotta put Oklahoma at the table before Ohio State.
It's going to be tough in that regard to pick one or the other there, because Ohio State, if they can get through the Big Ten, I think they've got a case for a better overall resume than Oklahoma does.
Well,
because
if they
the Big
beat
12,
all the undefeated teams, they would.
Right, because the Big 12 is down this year.
Yeah.
I think it's Oklahoma. Then there's a little bit of a step back to Texas, and then there is a gap back to the rest of the field.
Yeah, the only other ranked team they play besides Texas in the Red River Shootout is Iowa State, who currently is ranked 25.
And they had to go to double overtime to beat Northern Iowa.
So by the end of the season, I don't anticipate them being a top 25 team.
They still have to go to Baylor, and Baylor's an improved team. They're getting better.
And
it's in Waco.
Trying to recover from Art Briles.
And it's in Waco, so you have that.
Yep.
You always have Bedlam at the end of the year, where the Mullet's going to put up a ton of points. The question is, can he stop anybody?
Yeah, if they can play a little bit of defense.
And that's always been his problem. My other thing with Oklahoma is I know Lincoln Riley is a quarterback guru, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is his last year in Norman before somebody in Dallas backs up the Brinks.
We'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Backs up the Brinks truck to get him.
I think there's an answer to that question in a little bit here.
But I don't see Jalen Hurts doing what he did in week 1, week after week after week, and I know that the offenses are different. It's a much more pro element based offense in Alabama as opposed to Oklahoma, which is a varied version of the run and shoot.
Yeah, they're going to sling it a little more at Oklahoma, as you can with Lincoln Riley's offense. He's going to sling it a little more than he did at Alabama. He doesn't just have to hand the ball off. And I think they're going to need to rely on him a little more than Alabama would have had to. Like, obviously, you saw what he did at Alabama with very limited stat numbers. His stat lines weren't always great. I mean, there was games where he was throwing for under 200 yards. And I think Oklahoma has to lean on him more as a quarterback.
Yes.
Which is why I think he sits in the room for the Heisman Trophy. And, in fact, depending on what his numbers end up like, he could win the Heisman Trophy. If Oklahoma's undefeated, he might win the Heisman Trophy. But I just – it's hard – I think Oklahoma has an easier path, and I don't think Ohio State ends up undefeated. That's the biggest reason is I think Oklahoma ends up undefeated and Ohio State doesn't, which is why they get in.
I'm going to take a guess here. You're going to say Ohio State loses to Sparty?
I don't know if they lose to Sparty. I just feel like they lose to somebody. Like Ohio State traditionally has a letdown game. Like if you look at what happened last year against Purdue when Purdue beat their ass. Like let's not even get it twisted. All the Ohio State fans that were complaining, again, we talked about last year, about them not making the college football playoff, they got their ass kicked by Purdue. Like Ohio State's going to have a letdown. The other thing too is with the coaching change, it'll be interesting to see how they react. I obviously last week isn't really a true measuring stick, but I think UC might give him some fits this week. I don't think UC is going to beat him, but I think they're going to give him some fits.
You mean the fighting Lane Kiffins weren't exactly a measuring stick?
Not really the measuring stick.
I will say, watching that game, Justin Fields looks really good.
Yeah, he's going to be okay.
They brought some more of the read option back with him that they haven't had.
He's really good.
With Barrett and Haskins.
Ohio State, again, they're going to be good, and they're probably going to win the Big Ten. I just don't know if they go through the season undefeated. And if you don't go through the season undefeated, and you play, and you're up against, in the College Football Playoff Committee's mind, and you're up against an undefeated Oklahoma team, I don't know how you put them in.
So you see the other big difference with our picks here is that I have actually, in my predictions, I have Georgia running the table.
Different result.
Georgia beating Alabama in the SEC Championship, which is why Alabama moves from 2 down to 4. I think the losses that Alabama sustained to graduation and also to the NFL draft, and then you also lose your star middle linebacker towards ACL the day before in one of the final practices before the season starts.
Yep.
And I love Georgia. I think Jacob Fromm takes a big step forward this year. DeAndre Swift is a hammer in the backfield. They have one of the most destructive offensive lines in college football.
They have a really good offensive line.
Right. And so I think that combined with some of the losses that Alabama sustained, I think more is going to be put on Tua in Tuscaloosa. And we saw towards the end of the last year in the bigger games towards the end of the year, SEC title game, college football playoff, he didn't play very well.
He struggled a bit down the stretch.
And especially, it's exacerbated by the fact that he stunk it up in the title game against Clemson.
Yeah, he did not play well in the title game.
But even leading into that, the last couple of games before that, it was not the Tua that we saw during the regular season where he didn't play in the fourth quarter at all.
Yeah. He didn't. There was games where he was done at halftime. So, I mean, I think that maybe was a little bit of a factor.
And so I think those things here, I think this is the year that Kirby Smart can get over the hump.
Yeah,
and take down Nick Saban.
I hope they do. I think it's fun. It's more fun for college football to see Nick Saban lose once in a while.
But you don't have that happening.
I don't. I just like as much as you want to pick against Nick Saban, it doesn't happen. Like it just doesn't. Like
it makes sense.
He ends up in the same spot every year. And here's the thing too is, when is Nick Saban going to call it a day? I mean, he's what else can the man
pushing
accomplish?
70.
I know, and what else can he accomplish? And that'll be interesting to see what happens when he leaves the program. But it's
the bottom line is
you count on Nick Saban until you can't. Like I don't know why you can't count him out. But
the bottom line is you look at the bottom of the screen. This is Clemson's title to lose this year.
It is again. Clemson far and away the best program in college football right now. Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence wins the Heisman if they go undefeated. I think he's the Heisman Trophy winner.
Wonder if Travis Etienne maybe split some votes with him?
Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, like they're like people will vote them 1-2, so the same amount of points end up with the same guy. I just think they're gonna separate from the pack as the season moves on. Kyler Murray's going to be in the conversation, obviously, or not Kyler Murray. I'm sorry. Tua Tagovailoa is going to be.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts is going to be in the conversation.
What about Jonathan Taylor, Wisconsin?
Jonathan Taylor.
He's going to have to put up probably 2,000 yards to get into the conversation.
But he could with their offensive line and the way they run the football. Like that's what Wisconsin is built to do.
Correct.
He could. I know Jim McElwain up there at Central Michigan, my alma mater. Jim McElwain's quote for the week to the media was, "I hope he doesn't try and win the Heisman Trophy this week," because it's always a concern when a MAC team goes to a Big Ten team. If you recall, back in 2003, when I was playing for Central Michigan, we went to the Big House to play Chris Perry and the Michigan Wolverines, and he got himself in the Heisman discussion by playing in that game because he ran for like 265 yards.
Did he send you a thank you card?
No, I didn't play defense, so I didn't get the thank you card, but he probably thanked everybody else.
Sent one to the team.
Braylon Edwards got a nice like highlight reel catch that was on every time they showed his highlight reel.
Who was the quarterback in? Chad Henne?
I don't even remember, to be honest with you. Probably some bum. But probably a not elite quarterback because Michigan hasn't had an elite quarterback in I don't even know how many years. And don't pretend like Tom Brady was an elite quarterback when he was there. He is now, but he wasn't an elite quarterback.
He was benched for Drew Henson.
Yeah, but the baseball player.
Yeah.
Not that Tom Brady wasn't a good quarterback, but like let's not pretend like
Sure.
they have an elite quarterback now. And I know all the people are like, oh, Shea Patterson, look at the thing he did. He led him to the first victory of the season. Shea Patterson is much improved, blah, 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 blah. Guess what, Michigan fans? Shea Patterson is a bum.
Well, you can thank your idiot head coach who decided during this entire offseason he was going to shoot his mouth off.
No, stupid. Like
stuff.
Jim Harbaugh running his mouth,
Yeah.
which, by the way, don't throw stones when you live in a glass house because you got plenty of stupid shit on your resume too, Jim Harbaugh, you dummy. Just stupid. Shea Patterson's not elite. Sorry.
Speaking
Shea Patterson's not taking you to the national title, kids.
Well, and
Sorry, Michigan
I'll say
fans.
this. Watch out this week, Wolverines fans. And you saw our picks there. We both have Clemson winning the national title. Watch out, Wolverines fans, this week because you got a good Army team coming in. Won 10 games last year. The triple option.
And you have a week to prepare for the triple option. This isn't, you don't get a bye week. You don't get it. This isn't something you see every week. And we're experiencing with my high school team right now. The first week we played a triple option team. This week we're playing a wing T team. Next week we're playing no more of a pro style offense. But then the week after that we're a wing T team. And I have to coach the scout team, and it is impossible to get a team that doesn't run the triple option or the wing T to play the wing T for scout team. It's impossible. Like, even at the college level with elite athletes, because one, wing T teams cut all the time, or triple option teams cut all the time. And most times college coaches don't let, particularly scout guys, cut starting defensive linemen. It's a hard thing to prepare for. Like it worries me as coaching our scout team offense in high school if we're getting our defense ready because it's hard for me to coach because it's not any techniques that any guys normally see. And you amplify this to the college level and a team like Army, who this is what they do every day of the year. All they do is run triple option. Like, it's a hard thing for any scout team to give you what you're going to actually get out of Army. And they're a good football team. Like, they're going to run the ball 45, 50 times and throw it twice.
They may run it 70 times.
And they're going to throw it twice. And you're going to have to stop the run every time. And now Michigan's defense is good, but they lost a bunch of dudes from last year. And they weren't overly impressive in game one to me. Like, they were okay, but they don't look like national title contenders. So Yeah, Army coming to town is going to be a little tougher than I think people think.
Watch out for that one. Just keep an eye, Wolverines fans.
Not saying they're going to lose.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Not
you're
saying
not
that
gonna look
upset's going to happen.
impressive.
But don't be shocked if Army gives you a game, deep into the fourth quarter, because like Adam said, it's a triple option offense. He said they're not going to throw the ball. They're going to own time of possession. They're probably going to have the ball over 40 minutes. That puts even more pressure on Shea Patterson because you have to score.
Yeah,
because
they're gonna Army's gonna get their touches and they're gonna get their points. Like,
absolutely,
you need to do something to slow their offense. Like, they might possess the ball for 3/4 of the game because that's what their offense is designed to do.
Absolutely. So with that, not saying it's going to be an upset, but we do have some upset picks, and we kind of got this going last year. We like to bring it back this season, and the upset picks of the week. You talked about your chips. Yeah, a nice week one win. Get the McElwain era started off on right. You actually scored more than 12 points.
Yeah, doubled up the highest score from last season. Put 35 on the board, which is a good start for an offense that was anemic last year. Literally the worst offense in college football.
Well, speaking of that, your Chips are getting 35 points this week at Wisconsin.
Getting 35 at Wisconsin.
No, I'm not suggesting that they're going to win that ball game because they're not.
No, they're not.
But
I love my Chippewas, but we're not winning this one.
Do you think they can get it under 35, the final margin?
You know what? I hope they can cover. I hope it's a little better game than people suspect. But watching the way that Wisconsin played week one, it just I don't have a lot of
Taylor running behind 5 18-wheelers like he does every year.
Yeah, behind a bevy of NFL offensive linemen.
Right.
Our defense lost a lot last year. They lost the two best corners. They lost middle linebacker. They lost some defensive linemen. A transfer to Michigan.
Whoa.
Yeah, he transferred to Michigan. He's starting for him in Michigan.
Whoa. Turncoat?
Yeah, he's pretty good. The offense looked improved, which I'm happy about because that was the biggest thing frustrating about watching the Chippewas is watching it, first down get stuffed, second down incomplete pass, third and long, and they can't do anything with it because they can't throw any route farther than 6 yards down the field. But, I hope the Chippewas give them a good show. Like, we're getting the $1 million check. I would love to see a Georgia State situation.
Tennessee, yeah.
Get that $1 million check and beat their ass, but I don't know if it's going to happen with my Chips. I love them, but like Coach McElwain said, let's hope he doesn't win the Heisman this week and they keep it respectable. But I'm just looking for them to improve. Like, go out and score some points. Like, I'll be watching. It's a 3:30 kickoff, so I'll have a chance to watch it. Big Ten Network. Just want to see the Chippewas improve. After the awful season last year, I just want to see something that looks like a football team on the field on a Saturday.
Kudos to the Georgia State head coach. I don't have his name in front of me in the locker room after the game saying, it just meant more to us today.
It did.
The whole SEC, it just means more, which I'm an SEC guy. I'm a Kentucky alum, but that is one of the stupidest campaign slogans.
It's so
it
dumb.
Just means more. SEC.
By the way, that's the dumbest chant ever.
It's going to be mocked and ridiculed relentlessly. And
every time an SEC team loses, they should use
Georgia
it against
State.
them.
And by the way, watch out down there in Knoxville because if you don't take care of business this week against BYU, who always plays everybody tough no matter what the situation is, Tennessee may be looking at a 1-6 start. And that may cost Jeremy Pruitt his job.
Yeah,
and Tennessee starting
Butch
over
Jones
again.
Doesn't look like the best move in the world right now, although Butch was heading south. But
Tennessee, to me, is quickly becoming the Indiana basketball of college football, and that they're relying on their legacy from the past. The kids nowadays don't care about anymore.
Yeah, they're largely irrelevant to all the kids that are coming out of college
and it's not
high school right now.
It's not turning into wins.
I think you can only use Peyton Manning's legacy for so long to get kids to come there.
Philip Fulmer, the athletic director, still thinks he's God.
Yeah,
which is to some people's minds in Knoxville, he still is. But he's been gone for 15 years.
Yeah.
At what point?
It's similar to the Nebraska situation. Like, it's no longer a destination school.
Nope.
When we were growing up, when we were coming out of high school, that was a destination school. That was 20 years ago. Like, what have you done to keep relevance in the last 20 years? Like, obviously, I paid more attention to him when my friend Butch Jones was there. But like at this point, like as a high school kid coming out. If you're in this area where we are and you're getting recruited between UK and Tennessee, like UK is the far superior program right now. Like, there's no question that you're going to go to UK over Tennessee right now
And the thing
if you want to be a successful football player, because Tennessee just isn't doing it.
And the thing is, there's no excuse for it to be this way because
No,
Tennessee, they're a football school.
And the facilities they have, and like, it's
105,000 seat stadium.
It's like what, the third largest stadium in college football.
Yes,
and they pack it out every week. Now, not recently, but in the past, I mean, they were 100,000 people every week. Like,
absolutely,
you have a lot to sell, and for some reason, people just aren't buying it. And part of it is the product that's getting put on the field. It's just not what people remember or expect out of Tennessee football. And
right,
again, how long can you ride the Peyton Manning legacy or the Phil Fulmer legacy? Like, it doesn't hold up anymore. Similar to Nebraska and Tom Osborne, like, it just doesn't hold up anymore. Like, they've gone through so many changes. Now I hope Scott Frost is going to get it turned around, and I think he is. Credit to the pollsters for putting Nebraska in the top 25 after a 2-10 season last year. But well, we know how the pollsters work. They put Notre Dame and Michigan in the top 10 every season.
And Kentucky,
chalk it up.
Kentucky
every year.
Kentucky wins 10 games last year, not a single vote.
Yeah, ironic.
Not a single vote in the AP.
It
top
happens
25.
everywhere. We beat the number 9 team in the region last week. Our high school team did. Turpin beat Lakota. Number 9 team in the region. Guess how many votes we got this week?
Bagel.
1.
Oh, was it your own coach?
Yeah, I don't know, but we're literally at the bottom of the up and coming list. We're the last team on the list.
It's the high we play football.
And the team we beat goes from 9 to 16th, and we didn't even make an appearance in the top 25. But you know what? Don't respect us. It's okay.
All right, upset picks of the week this week in college football. You mentioned Scott Frost. I think they're on upset alert going to Colorado. This week, Mel Tucker.
I looked at that one. This is a good one.
Mel Tucker, former defensive coordinator at Georgia, now the head man at Colorado. They had a nice opening week win over Colorado State. Ran the ball well, very balanced offense, forced 4 turnovers. Nebraska was very, very unimpressive in an opening week win over South Alabama.
They looked good at times. It was actually we were watching that game a little bit while we were game planning for a high school game, and they looked good at times. The defense looked pretty solid, but
defense did. But yes, the offense the offense put up 276 yards.
Yeah, not great.
That is not a Scott Frost offense.
No,
and going on the road to Boulder, that's an old Big 8 rivalry.
Yeah,
and I wish that would be a game. Those games like that will be played every year since they're no longer obviously in the same conference.
Yeah.
That game needs to be played every year because it's a great old time rivalry. But I have Nebraska on upset alert at Colorado. I know the spread is not much. I think Nebraska is favored by like 2.5 or 3.
They're getting 4 currently.
Okay.
They're getting 4. But like you mentioned,
I like Colorado in that one. I like Colorado to win that one.
And the predictors agree with you. They actually have Colorado with a slight edge here online. So
okay, so I do have a ranked team going down. What do you have?
I don't have a ranked team, but I got.
Did you go off the board?
I got some Maction for you.
I knew it.
Maction. Game 1, Saturday morning. You don't have to wait long. It's an 11 a.m. kickoff, Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. The Ohio Bobcats traveling to Pittsburgh.
The Fighting Frank Soliches.
Yep, giving up 5.5. Ohio Bobcats plus 5.5. I got Frank Solich going into Heinz Field and beating Pittsburgh.
Straight up.
Straight up. Beating them straight up. I got it. Like Frank Solich, if there's a chalk pick for the MAC, they're favored to win the MAC again for the 15th straight year, or however long he's been there.
You chalk him up for 9 wins.
Chalk him up for 8 wins, 9 when they win the MAC championship, 10 when they win their bowl game. Like, that's just what they do. Like, Frank Solich has got the deal. You know, the best coach Nebraska's had since they fired him. They haven't had anybody better since they fired Frank Solich, but he's come to Ohio U. He's winning championships for them. He's going to end up in their Hall of Fame. Might be the best coach in Ohio U history. He's making a campaign for the best MAC coach ever at this point. Like,
well, because he's stayed there long enough.
He stayed there long enough that now, like, you can. I mean, he's been there since. 2005? So he's been there 14 years or whatever.
15 years, yeah.
And I think he's got 6 MAC championships in that time.
He's reaching Marvin Lewis tenure.
He is, but he's winning games. Unfortunately for Marvin Lewis, if he was winning 10 games every year, he'd still have a job. But
he wouldn't be coaching. He wouldn't be coaching the coaches at Arizona State.
Yeah, Frank Solich wins 10 games every year.
That's
you
right.
know, at this point, he's approaching Herb Duramity level of success in the MAC. So. I got the Fighting Frank Soliches, the Ohio Bobcats, going to Heinz Field and beating Pittsburgh.
Well, most teams in college football already have one game under their belt, and so you thought maybe since we're just starting the NFL season tonight College football is really just starting to get going. A lot of money games out there, games that aren't really close. You have a couple here and there. But the close games you do have can sometimes result in poor kicking.
Extremely poor kicking.
And we found there's some good ones out there that gave you the warm fuzzies.
Yeah.
And so
I didn't miss any.
Every team's got one under the belt already, and we already are bringing it to you. Your Fumblegate Fatty Kicker of the Week. And by the way, before you get into it, remind everybody what this is all about. The Fumblegate Fatty Kicker of the Week.
So as everyone may or may not know, I'm a huge fan of kickers because they're not even real football players. You know, for the brand, I love Pat McAfee, but at the end of the day, kickers find a way to blow it for you. Never leave the game on the foot of a kicker, and I'm going to show you why here in this week's edition of the Fumblegate Fatty Kicker of the Week. Every week we do this because there's always a chance a kicker's going to blow a game for you. It happened to me too many times. It happened to me in college. I had awful kickers in college. I had, unfortunately, my boy Shane Graham, game in second year cost me some money by not making the playoffs, so we didn't get the playoff check.
2006.
I didn't bet on the game. It's because if we made the playoffs, I would have get a bonus.
How much was that?
I believe it was like $19,000.
Did he ever cut you a check?
He did not.
Did he buy you dinner?
No. I like Shane. I'm just kidding. I like Shane. He's one of the most successful NFL kickers of all time. But unfortunately for me, it cost me some money.
And by the way, this is like basically week one for a lot of teams. We have multiple nominees.
Yeah, multiple nominees week one, which again, as you mentioned, particularly at the Division I level, not a lot of close games at the Division I level.
Correct.
So not a lot of nominees. But
Correct.
guess what? We'll find you.
Yeah, D2, D3, NAIA, doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're out there. We're going to find you. So we start this week with NAIA football. Dixon State's Jace Johnson misses from 27. By the way, this is what we call trained monkey range, folks. Inside 30 yards, trained monkey can do this. You could teach a high school kid to kick a field goal from inside 30. All he's got to do is toe it. He missed from 27. Lost to Rocky Mountain College 23-21. 2-point margin victory. Missed a 27-yarder. Again, trained monkey range. Lehigh's Austin Henning misses from 40 as time expires. As time expires, they lose by 1 to St. Francis, PA. As time expires from 40, it is your job, 40 yards. By the way, the winner might have come out of this one if it went the other way around because Trevor Thompson from St. Francis, PA missed from 28, again, trained monkey range, and also 35. But this week's winner, and this is a good one because we got a trained monkey range and we got one easier than trained monkey range. Houston Baptist's Gino Garcia misses from 23 yards. Again, 3 yards more than extra point, trained monkey range, and an actual extra point. So he leaves 4 points on the board. How many did they lose to UTEP by? 2. Loses by 2 to UTEP. Houston Baptist, Gino Garcia, missing from 23, trained monkey range, and an extra point. This week's winner of the Fumblegate Fatty Kicker of the Week.
And this is a big deal for them, too, because Houston Baptist, this is a money game for them. They're an FCS school, a chance to beat an FBS school. Granted, one of the worst FBS schools in the country in UTEP.
They are terrible, but it still looks good on your resume. You're still beating a team from a level up, which, as we've learned, typically, basically until the Appalachian State Michigan game.
That's right.
That wasn't a possibility. Like, that wasn't something that happened. You didn't beat a team a level above you. Just the disparity, supposedly, the difference in scholarships and the quality of player you get to these schools. Like, that's a big upset for a school like Houston Baptist, who, by the way, most people probably wouldn't even know where it is, even based on the name, because it's just a small school. Like, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what division Houston Baptist is. I don't know.
FCS, yeah, the Southland Conference.
Yeah, I wouldn't
look
have
that up.
We wouldn't have known that. Like, you do small town college football, and I had no idea. I know Houston Baptist is in Houston, or at least I think it is, but I don't know what conference they're in, but I do know who UTEP is, and if you beat UTEP, that looks pretty good on your resume when you're selling stuff to recruits. Gino Garcia, you friggin' blew it, bud. 23-yarder and an extra point. Again, trained
in your collegiate
monkey
debut.
Collegiate debut.
True freshman.
Poor guy. Things can only go up from here, right, buddy?
He can walk from El Paso back to Houston.
Yeah,
that's a hike.
Hope you don't make any more appearances on our show.
Yes, you do.
Best of luck the rest of the season there, young man.
All right, let's move on to the NFL, and a lot of storylines to be had here. And as we get going to this, towards the end of the show.
Kinds of them. Like we missed a lot. We took some time off. We
did.
missed Antonio Brown in the helmet and getting
and then posting stuff on Instagram, bitching that he was fined for skipping practices,
yeah,
which is what
like,
happens
you
with
got
every team in the league.
$54,000 fine. Like you're what, like the 5th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL. You got a $54,000 fine. Get over it. Cut your check. I know you're a Chippewa. I like you, Antonio, but right now you're acting bitch made.
No, you don't.
You're acting bitch made, Antonio.
You just act. You're saying you like him because he went to your school. You don't like
No,
him.
I do like Antonio Brown. Like I don't know if he likes me, but I'm a fan of him. Like I've talked to him before. He's a good kid. Like now he's probably big time in everybody, but he's a good guy. I like him. I want him to be successful, and partly because I don't know if you watch much of the Hard Knocks, and I don't have HBO, but I've seen clips of Hard Knocks, and I'm actually pretty impressed. Like I kind of want the Raiders to be successful. I think it's more fun when the Raiders are relevant.
It is, but it's also fun to laugh at them when they're terrible.
It is fun to see them fail, and the day when John Gruden gets fired and he doesn't come close to playing out that 10-year, $100 million contract they gave him, that will be funny, and we'll talk about it here on the show. Mm-hmm. But part of me wants them to be successful, and I want it to work out for him. Well, Antonio Brown went helmet shopping. He found a new Zenith helmet.
Oh, you got an endorsement deal.
Yeah,
out of it.
Maybe it was just business was booming the whole time, and he was just smarter than the average bear. But.
Vince McMahon level trolling there.
Yeah, but again, a little bit of drama, but what's Oakland without a little bit of drama?
Well, drama is also in Northeast Ohio because everybody is on the Cleveland Browns bandwagon, based on what they were able to, the way they finished last season. Freddie Kitchens, a full-time man now. You make the trade for OBJ, all that stuff going on. You sign Kareem Hunt. He's not going to play till the last 8 games, but you sign Kareem Hunt.
But it could end up being a steal because getting him for half the games
absolutely
could be an absolute steal for them.
You buying it?
By the way, Roger Goodell making up his own arbitrary suspension rules. Not saying Kareem Hunt shouldn't have been suspended, but making up arbitrary suspensions. And
you mean four times the length of suspension for Hunt versus Ray Rice?
Yeah, Ray Rice, who's on video, and
we know about that.
Yeah, but anyway,
right, you buying the Browns?
You know what? I am mostly because their division. Like I don't see a clear-cut favorite in the division.
This is another year. I think 9 wins could win it.
I don't think there's a wild card team coming out. And here's the deal. They're improved. On paper, they're improved. Yep. They have a weapon for Baker Mayfield, or they added a weapon for Baker Mayfield. They have a very good running back in Nick Chubb. Their defensive line has the most upside of any defensive line in the NFL.
Their defense
is really good, but their defensive line in particular has the highest upside. Now, they're young guys. They're all young guys, but they have the potential, like you said, they could be the best defensive line in the NFL. There's a lot of upside to their defensive line. And here's another reason. Because they ended up finishing third at 7-8-1, they finished third. Their crossover games benefit them immensely. Now I know it's only 2 games, but here look at the crossover games that these teams got. The Ravens end up with the Texans and the Chiefs as their crossover games. Mm-hmm. The Steelers get the Colts and the Chargers. Cleveland gets Titans and Broncos. Like those crossover games make a big difference because you got to figure that between the Ravens and the Steelers, they're both at least losing one of those and possibly both of those games. Yep. And on paper, the Browns can beat both those teams. That's a 2-game swing. Now, I know you got to win the division too, but they're all going to get 2 wins against Cincinnati. And then it just comes down, they're all getting 2 wins against Cincinnati.
You think Cincinnati goes 0-6 in the North?
I think they do. Like, what are they going to sneak one out at home? Like you watch the
they're not going to beat Pittsburgh at home because they never beat Pittsburgh at home.
No,
but I could see them beating Baltimore at home for sure because
they might be able to beat Baltimore.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to be on the Jim Harbaugh bandwagon.
No, I'm not on the Jim Harbaugh bandwagon.
John Harbaugh, I'm sorry.
I can see that the Bengals have shown me nothing, unfortunately. Like their offensive line has gotten worse.
No, their offensive line sucks. But the one thing people kind of tend to roll over on the Bengals, and some people have maybe been the number 1 pick next year. They have the 2nd easiest schedule in the league this season. Now, granted, they've got some tough ones here. They got this week at Seattle. They play the Patriots. Of course, they have the division. So it's not the easiest road, but still, there are very winnable games. You got the Giants, the Jets.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're going to contend for the playoffs because they're not going to contend for the playoffs.
Vegas is still only giving them 3 wins, which is ironic.
I could see them getting to 6.
I think they
maybe
get the
7.
over on 3 wins, but it's going to be
take the over on 3.
Tough though.
No, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think a lot of people are very. It's not smart to just write them off, say check mark win.
No.
It would not shock me if they go winless in the division, but I'm saying I think they could get 1.
Yeah,
at home, maybe against like Baltimore, or you never know. One of those teams, maybe Cleveland comes in and Baker has a bad game, or anything can happen. They play Arizona.
And obviously a lot of this depends on health. Like, if guys get hurt, that changes people's seasons. If Baker Mayfield gets hurt, it changes the season for them.
I think Cleveland, the way I was looking at the schedule, I think they can make the playoffs. I have them at 9-7.
But like you said, that probably wins the division, right? I don't think the wild card comes out of the AFC North. I just don't think it does.
It's going to be tough. It wouldn't shock me if 9-7 wins it. I still think 10 wins is going to take it, but.
So you got him getting in as the wild card.
I do have him as a wild card at 9-7. I would probably have Pittsburgh winning the division at 10-6. Those 3 teams, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Baltimore, they're all going to be beating each other up.
Yeah, they're very closely matched this year. And
how much do you trust this Cleveland team, as inexperienced as they are and unaccustomed they are to winning, to going on the road, to going into Baltimore to win a game, to go into Pittsburgh to win a game. And plus also, I think one of the things you got to keep an eye on as we go forward. You talked about how great Nick Chubb is, and he's a fantastic running back. They traded their best offensive lineman, Kevin Zeitler, to the Giants. And in the preseason, that offensive line was not the same. They're still trying to figure out how to fill that gap because he was a very, very good guard.
Zeitler was very good. And he was probably one of the best left guards in the NFL.
Right, and you trade him for Olivier Vernon to the Giants.
Who's going to be a big upgrade for them, though?
He is.
That's a good good upgrade.
You're also assuming that Baker Mayfield's going to take that sophomore leap. And so there's just...
I mean, I'll admit I doubted Baker Mayfield, and after watching him last season,
we all did. I said when they drafted him, he'd be out of the league in 5 years.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen now. Like, he looks pretty good. You know what? A couple things I will say, and again, you guys know I like to be as vague as possible, so it's hard to be wrong. I think OBJ has less of an impact than people are hyping him up to be. I don't think he's that big of an impact to them.
I think it helps Jarvis Landry more than anything else.
He improves them.
Absolutely.
I don't think he all of a sudden instantly becomes an MVP candidate.
He doesn't put him over the top.
No, I think it makes them a better offense just because you have to pay attention to him. And like you mentioned, it helps Jarvis Landry. But, there's with no clear-cut favorite in the division, I think that's why they can live up to the hype because they have not the weakest division, but the most evenly matched division. The top 3 teams in this division are so evenly matched.
Everybody's going to beat up on everybody.
They're going to beat up on each other, but that's why I think they can rise to the top and they can end up, winning the division and making the playoffs. Here's one thing I was looking up yesterday when I was doing a little research. They were 5-3 down the stretch. Those 5 games they won by a total of 8 points. So they did play a lot of close games last year. So it's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah, can they do that again?
Can they do that again? And they struggled with very good teams last year, which again I think is one reason that finishing third actually benefits them because of their crossover games that they get this year. So it'll be interesting to see. Like we've mentioned before, it's fun when the Browns are good because everybody kind of likes to shit on them, and we do too. And so it's kind of fun to see. Yeah. As you recall, we used to have a segment called Cleveland.
And if something goes wrong this year, that's going to get broken back out.
Yeah, but I kind of want to see him be a little successful. Again, I doubted Baker Mayfield, it turns out I think he's a really fun player to watch.
Right now, I'm kind of in the mode of I want to see either Cleveland be pretty good or I want to see him be awful. I don't want to see a mediocre Cleveland team. Because it's just like they're just another run of the mill.
Yeah, just sitting around going 8-8 every year. Yeah, it's you kind of want to see them win the division. Again, people who are from Cincinnati here, like there's a lot of hate towards the rest of the AFC North, and so I think one thing that maybe fans around here might not mind as much is seeing a team who's perennially the doormat of the league.
Well, it's not a rivalry.
It's not a rivalry because they're perennially the doormat of the league.
Exactly.
If they win the division and the Steelers and Ravens don't, and then consequently also don't make the playoffs, Bengals fans who love to do this will cheer for the fact that that's what happens. I know a lot of Bengals fans last year when the Steelers didn't make the playoffs were literally excited that the Steelers didn't do it. Never mind the fact that the Bengals fired their head coach and that they were terrible.
Well, because they look
but they
at
had
it
to be
as
excited that the Steelers didn't
make the playoffs either, so they're as crappy as we are.
Wrong.
All right, so let's move to another team near the Cincinnati area, but they're located to the north, but they're actually in the AFC South, and geography doesn't make any sense, and the NFL needs to realign. The Indianapolis Colts now have to live without Andrew Luck as he has decided to move on from the game of football. And by the way, good on you, Andrew Luck. And I will say this. I'll give Jim Irsay credit for this as well. They could have gone after Andrew Luck for like some $25 million, and they told him keep it.
You know what?
I think it's a good thing to.
You couldn't have had a smoother transition between Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck to have a franchise quarterback to go to a franchise quarterback.
Yeah,
and a successful one at that. I'm sure there was a lot of conversations behind closed doors before this decision was made. I don't think Andrew Luck just all of a sudden decided.
The reports are that he indicated to them a couple of weeks ahead of time that he was seriously considering.
Yeah, so I think they knew. They saw the writing on the wall. Obviously, Jacoby Brissett played the entire preseason. And Andrew Luck didn't play at all.
Sure.
I don't know how you can have animosity. I don't know if you really can if you're Jim Irsay and the Colts organization. Like,
why don't you tell those?
He's done a lot for you.
Tell those jerk Colts fans who were booing him.
Stupid. By the way, fans, you're dumb.
Because
hey, guess what? Don't play with your kids.
Schefter broke the news during their preseason,
which is dumb on Schefter and dumb on Andrew Luck when it got leaked during a terrible time
during the fourth preseason game. Yeah,
but
terrible for them. But
terrible for Colts fans for booing the man for making a personal decision for all those out there.
I'm sorry he doesn't want his brain and his body beat up for life.
There's too much research out there right now that indicates that the quality of life after football declines so much with CTE and with degenerative injuries and all that other stuff and stuff that I experienced. And I didn't play nearly as long as Andrew Luck. I didn't take hits like Andrew Luck, but the way my knee feels, like someday that man wants to play with his children when he's 40. And he made the best decision for him. And yes, he got paid a lot of money to do what he did. I didn't get paid nearly as much money to do what I did. But I made a similar decision. Now, I didn't have a chance to be a starting quarterback, but I had opportunities after my time in Cincinnati. I had more opportunities. Even after tryouts, I had invitations to training camp. And I made a decision after talking to my doctor. He said, do you want to play with your kids when you're older? You need to stop playing football. Now, we can do surgery every year, and we can get you ready for a season, and we can keep you going, and we'll just start digging stuff out of your... But do you really want to
be like Mark Schlereth, who famously said, I had 29 surgeries. Do you want to do that?
Do you want to be able to play with your children? Now, and Andrew Luck said, and I've said this in the past before too, if it's no longer fun, don't do it. Now, to me, football was still fun, but I had to make a decision whether to try. I wasn't going to make an NFL team necessarily, but to try to continue to play football. Obviously, Andrew Luck can still play football if he wants to. But you have to make a decision. And he said, and one thing that was very telling in his press conference, it's not fun. And when it's not fun, it's not worth it. I don't care how much money they're paying you. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, stop doing it. And this is kind of in general. Like, don't do shit that makes you unhappy. If you're unhappy and you're in pain and you're not enjoying what you're doing, the grind of it all.
In any walk of life.
In any walk of life. Stop doing it. Like, make your life better for yourself. And that's one thing that Andrew Luck decided to do. And it's a smart decision for him personally. Now, as a fan, you might hate it, but guess what? It's not your decision. It's his decision. Like, he kept the valuation of your franchise as high as it was for so long, and I think it's still valued very high.
There was a report that came out yesterday that the Colts have said that Jim Irsay was offered $3.2 billion to sell the team, and he turned it down.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of that has to do with Peyton Manning, but Andrew Luck had to pick up the ball and carry it for the last 7 years.
And Andrew Luck did a good job of doing that.
But you look at the injury. He's had the concussion, which... You were in the trenches every day getting smacked helmet to helmet.
They're not fun, and his were probably worse than mine were, but the concussions aren't fun. And the research with CTE and all that stuff, that's stuff you have to consider.
He's had the shoulder. He's had this offseason, the leg, the ankle, whatever
the
it
high
was,
ankle sprain,
the lacerated kidney,
yeah,
all this kind of stuff. And so he said it's weighed on him. And like you said, it's no longer fun for him. He's just tired of being hurt and tired.
He's sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
And that he made a decision that was best for him. And fans that booed him, you're stupid. I don't care if you think that he cheated the system and he made too much money.
He doesn't owe you a damn thing.
He doesn't owe you anything. Like, you have your tickets. Go watch Jacoby Brissett. Guess what? The Colts are still going to be okay, and here's why. Like, look at the offensive weapons that Jacoby Brissett has at his disposal. Marlon Mack, T.Y. Hilton, Eric Ebron, Jack Doyle, Devin Funchess, potential offensive rookie of the year, Paris Campbell. Like, the really good offensive line. They have the best left guard in football, Quentin Nelson. Like, they're really good. Slow your roll. Let Jacoby Brissett come in. They play in a not very good division. They play in a division with the Texans, who have the worst offensive line in football.
They traded for Laramie Tunsil, which helps.
Still the worst offensive line in football.
It's not good, but you've now added somebody to cover
you've
Deshaun Watson's backside.
He probably won't get sacked 65 times. They'll probably cut it down to like 50 times. But the Jacksonville went out and hitched their wagon.
Who do they get?
Hitched their wagon to Big Dick Nick. And we're going to see what happens with that. We're going to talk about it here in a second. Coaches that are in the hot seat. I think his coach is under the hot seat. Like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Jacksonville's offense has been putrid for how many years?
Well, you need to get more consistency out of Leonard Fournette. He needs to be healthy.
Yeah, they're really good defense, but their offense has been putrid. And we saw in the past that the defense gave up on the offense because the offense sucked. The defense gave up.
But how'd Josh Allen look in the preseason? Oh, I mean, if he continues that that's defensive rookie of the year type.
Dude, he might be defensive player of the year.
Good
like
job.
Some of the stuff he did, God, it's like those 6 teams that passed on him are going to be regretting that every day of the season.
I didn't hear one word out of Cleveland Ferrell out in Oakland.
Oh my God, just stabbing people in the chest, like literally taking offensive tackles' hearts, stabbing them in the chest and throwing them to the ground. It's so disgusting.
You heard Joe Buck ask during a broadcast, how were there 6 teams that passed on him?
It's unbelievable. Like, especially if you had a defensive need, the fact that you passed on him is just
but it's going to make
mind-blowing.
It
improves their defense.
That's going to carry them.
But the Colts Tennessee's going to be trash.
Who knows what you're going to get?
They're going to be trash.
It's Marcus Mariota, who's in a contract year.
They're going to be trash.
And then Ryan Tannehill is his backup.
No, they're going to be trash. The Colts can still win this division. Like they have the formula to win the division. They have a good offensive line. Now, credit to doing it now. They should have done it a little earlier. Maybe Andrew Luck would still be playing football. They should have given him an offensive line far, far earlier.
Yes.
But they have offensive weapons. They have a really good offensive line, and they have a pretty good defense. They have a quietly good defense because you heard about Andrew Luck. They finished in the top 10 in a lot of statistical categories last season.
Darius Leonard had like 450
tackles and didn't make the Pro Bowl. But like, they have a quietly good defense and offensive weapons and a good offensive line. Like, that is a formula to win your division in the NFL. So don't stop burning jerseys, all that other crap. Slow your roll. The Colts are going to be okay. Are they going to be as good as they were with Andrew Luck? Probably not. But will they still probably win the division, or can they still probably win the division? Yes. So just slow down a second and let stuff happen. Jacoby Brissett's been in the NFL for a while. He's pretty good. He's played in Andrew Luck's stead before. They're okay. Relax.
This is a team that plays in a division that is kind of similar to the AFC North, but I think a step back as far as overall talent goes.
Overall talent is lower.
In that it is a
very evenly matched.
Very evenly matched, and this is another division where 9 wins may win it. I do not have them in the playoffs. I have them at 8-8, but I don't think they make the playoffs. They're going to be.
I don't think the wild card comes out of this division.
No,
the same thing with the AFC North. I think the wild card
division champ is it.
Yeah, the wild cards come out of the West and the East.
I think either Houston or I think it's either going to be Houston or Jacksonville that comes out of this division, and that's it.
Yeah, I think the wild card comes. I think both wild cards might come out of the AFC West. To be honest with
you, you've heard the guys from the Colts, T.Y. Hilton say, that's my best friend. I'm going to support him, whatever he wants to do. Eric Ebron said, we're playing this season for Andrew Luck. It is I would imagine, it is very, very difficult to get up for every single game and say, this is for Andrew, this is for Luck. We're gonna win. We're gonna win this for Andrew Luck. I would imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. It is very, very difficult to get yourself up week in and week out, knowing that your franchise is gone.
Like,
I'm not.
is he a franchise quarterback?
The
yes, but they got the rest of the pieces, and
I agree.
And these guys are professionals. Like,
absolutely,
they can say what they want, but at the end of the day, like, you're a professional, and you need to go out. And how many times have they practiced without Andrew Luck? Like
the whole season, the whole
offseason.
summer.
How many times have they practiced without him during the regular season? Like, he's missed plenty of games before. Like,
I'm not saying it can't be done. I just think the step back and the impact. You're motivated. I understand that.
Yeah.
They may get off to a 3-0, 4-0 start, but eventually you're going to come back down a little.
The emotion is going to be there initially, and the play for Luck thing is going to be there initially, and it is going to fall off.
If they get to 10, 11 wins, just hand Frank Reich the Coach of the Year award.
He has to. Like,
I don't see it. It wouldn't shock me, but they're going to have to rely on the defense. They're going to have to rely on the running game until Jacoby Brissett proves that he can win you ball games throwing.
Yeah,
and that's going to be
we'll
tough.
Find out. It's not going to take long to figure it out. We start this Sunday. We'll find out.
Absolutely. So let's move on.
One guy who does throw the football.
Yeah, Jared Goff, he got paid.
Give me the money.
Yeah, Jared Goff got his fat contract, and Ezekiel Elliott got his fat contract, and let's throw him up on there on the board. You can see him there right now.
When did NFL owners literally start owning banks? Like, they're just throwing money at people. Just stupid money.
Here are your numbers. Jared Goff was in the final year of his rookie deal. Yeah, that's going to go away now. $110 million guaranteed, the biggest contract as far as guaranteed money of all time, passing Carson Wentz. So you just wonder, when's Aaron Rodgers going to get paid, and how much is he going to get paid?
He's not getting paid like that. He's too old to get paid like that.
Well, they're going to offer him.
They're going to have to give him money, but they're not giving. Like, I think teams are smarter.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets offered, like, if he signs like a 3-year, $120 million extension.
Why?
It wouldn't shock. It wouldn't shock. The way the money is, I'm not saying he's
the way the money's happening.
That's to my point. And Ezekiel Elliott, 6-year extension, so he's tied to Dallas now until he's age 32, I believe. He's now under contract for another 8 years. His contract extension, 6 years, $90 million, $50 million.
And here's the thing about that one too is the Cowboys had to do nothing. They did not have to appeal to this man. Like, they could have. He was under contract for 2 more years, and then they can franchise him for 2 more. They could have forced him to sit out for 4 seasons. Like,
well, he would have sat out for 10 games. To get an accrued year toward free agency.
But the Cowboys held the power in this one, and to me, they caved big time on this one.
Well, and
this money is just stupid money.
Well, and the problem they're going to run into in a couple of years is now that he's under contract, you got to pay Dak Prescott.
No, you don't.
And well, they're going to pay him.
No,
and that's the thing. They're going to pay him. The reports are he's already turned down $30 million average per year. Supposedly one report out there a while back said they'd offered him $40 million, which that's been refuted. But I think
first of all, where are they getting this money? And second of all, why does
Jerry Jones? He's a freaking billionaire.
I know, but like just in general, the NFL,
TV
where
revenue,
does money show up from?
TV revenue.
I know. Why weren't they paying players like this? 20 years ago when I was playing.
They weren't getting
15 years ago
$10 billion. Anyway, which one of these guys lives up to the contract? I think it's Jared Goff because Ezekiel Elliott is going to start to be pushed to the side once they pay Dak Prescott.
No, here's
not say push
couple
aside,
things. I don't think. First of all, I don't think Dak Prescott's worth the money. I think there are better starting quarterbacks out there than Dak Prescott.
I'm with you, but it's just the nature of the game. They're going to pay him.
Well, pay Cooper Rush then. Let Cooper Rush be your starter. Fire up chips. No, I don't think Dak Prescott's worth the money. But here's the deal. What's a 32-year-old running back in the league worth? Not much.
Ask Adrian Peterson.
No,
he's about the only one.
Is he worth $15 million a year?
No,
because that's what you're paying Ezekiel Elliott. You're paying him $1 million a game. Like, is Ezekiel Elliott put up really good numbers? Yes. Is he a good running back? Yes.
He's the best all-around running back right now at age 24.
But is he going to be the best overall running back at age 32?
Probably not.
Not even close.
Probably not.
He might not even be. He's got like.
They're going to regret this deal in 3 years.
Yes. The history of the NFL shows us that in year 4, 5, 6, running backs start to decline. Like, that's just what happens in the NFL. Now, there are exceptions, but in general, running back play starts to decline. And particularly after the age of 30, how many workhorse, bell cow running backs are in the NFL after the age of 30?
Well, and the thing you also have to factor in, too, is that age is coming down into the upper 20s because of the rookie wage scale. Yeah. So a lot of teams are figuring, let's just keep rookies on the roster because we can pay them a hell of a lot less.
They're cheaper. Rookies are cheaper. Like,
right.
Ezekiel Elliott at age 30 getting paid $15 million, and you have another, a rookie running back coming out like that you can pick up in the second or third round
for $1 million.
For $1 million a year, like what
Yeah.
is Ezekiel Elliott going to be worth it? Like
Well,
they're going to regret this contract. It's too much money for a running back who's going to be 32 at the end of it. 32 years old at the end of this contract. It's too much money.
I bet 3 years that they're gonna.
It's going to start to decline. Just the nature of the beast, the way the NFL works, with as many touches as he gets.
Absolutely.
With their offensive line isn't bad, but they're not great. Like, we're not talking about Emmitt Smith running behind the best offensive line of all time. Like,
he was a couple years ago, but the injuries and that kind of thing have taken their toll.
They get banged up, and they have good offensive line. Tyron Smith and Zach Martin, and there's good offensive linemen there. Not saying they're bad. I'm just saying, like, Ezekiel Elliott takes a pounding, and you're going to expect him to play at the same level for now the next 8 years and 6 years of this contract until he's 32 years old. It just isn't going to happen. That's not the way the NFL works.
Well, and with that, you wonder as well that this puts a lot more pressure on Jason Garrett to produce now, because now they've got Elliott back. They've paid him the money. They've said they're going to pay Dak Prescott. Oh, by the way, Amari Cooper's contract is coming up soon. He's going to want to get paid too.
You can't not pay that man right now. There's no reason to not pay him.
It's going to be tough to afford all those guys and yet keep the rest of the roster they have there. So I have to think this puts Jason Garrett in the hot seat to win and win now.
Yeah.
Is he? Firings are going to happen all the time, and not saying he's going to be fired. I think he's been there way longer than he deserves to be, given the lack of results he's produced, particularly late in the season. But it's a question we have every year to start the year. Some head coach is going to lose their job, and who's the first to fall? I think it's Jay Gruden in Washington. Looking at their schedule, they're starting Case Keenum. Haskins couldn't win the job in training camp. I look at their schedule. I have them starting 1-5.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, he's gone. He's already 9 games under 500 since he's been the head coach there. He's never won 10 games. He won the division his second year there at 9-7. The last 2 years, he's gone 7-9 each of the 2 years. Now you don't have Alex Smith. You're basically starting over. Well,
they admit they're starting over when they drafted Dwayne Haskins. They're starting over.
Because it's such a freak injury to Alex Smith. You don't know if he'll ever play again. I don't think he should.
No, again, the Andrew Luck situation, why would you?
Why would he?
There's no reason to, Alex Smith. You don't have to. Like, if it still drives you and you still want to play, but don't feel pressured to have to play.
You have an owner in Daniel Snyder who thinks his team should be, the cream of the crop every year. We've seen
who's an idiot, by the way. Daniel Snyder's a bum.
Well, where have they been every single year since he's been the owner?
Mediocre.
Or they're paying $100 million to Albert Hainsworth, or they're drafting RG3 with the number 2 pick of the draft.
Who's still in the league, by the way? Still in the league. Back
up to Lamar Jackson.
I saw they brought him on to talk about Andrew Luck because of the same draft class or whatever. And I'm like, I can't believe you're still in the NFL, but whatever.
Yeah, you're the Ryan Leaf to his Peyton Manning.
Yeah. Might be worse than Ryan Leaf.
But no, he's a little better than Ryan Leaf.
I don't know about that. He had one good season.
It's not
it's
not saying much.
Yeah,
I know it's not saying much, but I think Jay Gruden's the first to go. It's just they've just not been able to put a winner there. And when you're relying on 47-year-old Adrian Peterson to be your bell cow behind Case Keenum, who does he have to throw to?
Yeah,
your defense is meh.
They're very unremarkable. They haven't done much. Like Dwayne Haskins is going to be the.
And you got to play Philadelphia, who a lot of people, they're a sexy Super Bowl pick this year. Dallas is always going to be around. You should, but you probably won't beat the Giants twice because Eli Manning still sucks.
Hashtag Eli's fault.
That's right.
And hey, by the way, Daniel Jones, the way he played in the preseason, makes it easy to pull the trigger on putting Eli Manning down, because Daniel Jones, as much as I doubted the pick, he looked pretty good in the preseason. He didn't play bad.
Look sharp, but then they say,
they're not going to be great.
But then Pat Shurmur says, well, we're still evaluating and we haven't fully settled on
our
guy.
No, Eli's the dude. But
I know, but then the owner says, well, ideally, I don't want to see him play at all this year. Like, that's a good message to send to the 6th pick in the draft. Anyway, so on and so forth. So I think Jay Gruden's the first to go. Who are you looking at?
I honestly, I think it ends up being one of two. I think it's either Jason Garrett or Doug Marrone. Like Both
the pressure's on Marrone now.
The pressure's really on Marrone because he has a franchise quarterback. Like, you can no longer say, we struggle because of our quarterback play. You can't now because you went out and got a franchise quarterback. Big Dick Nick's coming in, and you better do something. Like, you paid the man. Now you got to go do something with it. Again, very good defense down there in Jacksonville.
Can you get them motivated to play?
Can you get them to play? Because, again, they quit on the offense last year because the way their offense struggled. I don't know. I think it ends up being Jason Garrett because now they paid their franchise running back. They're going to it sounds like they're going to stick with Dak Prescott. I think it's a terrible decision, but they're going to stick with Dak Prescott. And if he can't be successful with those two guys, and those are the franchise players you want moving forward, like you mentioned, basically treading water, similar to a Marvin Jones situation. Like, Jerry Jones has let him tread water for so long, and we thought that there was a time that 2 seasons ago where he was going to get fired mid-season, and they held on to him, and they were going to give him another shot. Jerry Jones, in the past, has pulled the trigger very quickly. He has held on to Jason Garrett for a long time. If they struggle and don't win their division, I think the trigger gets pulled. I think it gets pulled before the end of the season because Jerry Jones wants to be the first one out there looking for head coaching candidates. And like you mentioned, there's a guy who coaches up in Oklahoma who is very appealing if I'm Jerry Jones. Lincoln Riley is a very appealing name, and we know Jerry Jones likes to open his pocketbook, and we obviously saw that with Ezekiel Elliott. Jerry Jones likes to cut checks.
That's going to be a bidding war if that happens.
It's going to be a bidding war.
Oklahoma's going to spend.
Oklahoma's going to spend, but Jerry Jones has more money than Oklahoma. Like, I don't care how many alumni you got. Jerry Jones got more money than Oklahoma. Jerry Jones might have more money than the state of Oklahoma. So, Jerry Jones can spend money. And
T. Boone Pickens would have an argument, but he donates to Oklahoma State.
Touche. T. Boone Pickens, I digress.
Yeah, he's in Oklahoma State. He's not donating.
No.
He's not giving to Norman.
Everything in Oklahoma State's campus is named after T. Boone Pickens.
Right.
But I think Jerry Jones is going to be ahead of the game. If Jason Garrett struggles, he's going to fire Jason Garrett, and he is going to be on a plane to Lincoln Riley the next day, maybe before he fires him. I don't know. Maybe before. I don't know. Huge. And we have lots of great people. I just think that is too appealing for Jerry Jones if he has an opportunity to go get Lincoln Riley to sit in another year of mediocrity. If you're going to give him Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott with Lincoln Riley and his offensive system, I think that Jason Garrett's got to be the first one to go. Another one to keep an eye on, Ron Rivera in Carolina.
Yeah.
Punch face Cam Newton. I don't think he's a dude.
Well, he had his shoulder redone, and then they're trying to redo the mechanics of him throwing the football.
Yeah. Like, it's time for him to be done. I'm over that.
You look at them; they have Christian McCaffrey, and what else?
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
on offense, I still got Kuechly.
Yeah, but and Kuechly we know gets concussions every other week, so it's we'll see what happens with them. Yeah. And Bill O'Brien down in Houston, like if they struggle and if they can't protect their quarterback, like they've decided that Deshaun Watson is their franchise quarterback, and if you can't protect them, like whose fault is that? Like,
and he also has mortgaged the future to win now. The trade with Miami to get Tunsil, to get Kenny Stills.
Yep.
And I laugh at Miami. I laugh at Miami trying to say they're not tanking because they are. Tank for hashtag tank for Tua.
Yeah, but or Trevor Lawrence. Tank for Trevor.
We got to wait 2 years for Lawrence.
No, he's done after this year, right?
He's a true sophomore.
He's a true sophomore.
Damn it, that's right. You mortgaged a lot of picks to get Tunsil, and then you got Kenny Stills to give him another weapon to throw to complement Hopkins. You better win. Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, Bill O'Brien better win, especially because he's calling the shots. They don't have a general manager this year. He was going to split the duties with their player personnel guys this year.
And again, if Jason Garrett gets it done in Dallas, maybe the Texans give Lincoln Riley a call. Like they got a very athletic quarterback.
Yes, they do,
and they got some pretty good athletes around them. Like
they lost Lamar. They lost Lamar Miller. He tore his ACL.
Yeah.
So you need help. You need help run.
Maybe you give Lincoln Riley a call. I mean, it's appealing. It's the same area of the country. Like that's something. Lincoln Riley is going to have a number of suitors that come after him, and we saw it last year, and he stuck with Oklahoma again. Like he keeps sticking with Oklahoma, but at some point, those checks from the NFL are going to be a little bit too big that he can't ignore them. Or maybe he sticks in Oklahoma. Like I'm not saying he's going to leave, but there's going to be a lot of teams coming.
Do you want to continue to keep the system you're in and continue to try and recruit and coddle 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, or do you want to try and go to the NFL
with professionals?
Who are going to, or if they don't like something, they're going to tell you to go.
You don't
screw
have to
yourself.
do the recruiting thing, and you don't have to, But
it's pros and cons to both sides. All right, so Having said all that, now let's look forward to
teams that probably won't be firing their head coaches during the season.
You wouldn't think.
Nah, probably not.
Let's get you first of all our picks for the conference title games, and we a couple of variances here with each of us here, but bottom line is we pretty much have a lot of the same teams from a year ago, the last 2-3 years.
I think the playoffs are largely the same, and anything can happen in the playoffs, and obviously injuries can change everything. We haven't even gotten through week 1. Injuries are going to change teams drastically if injuries happen. Obviously with our picks, Tom Brady gets hurt, drastically changes what the Patriots can do. It's going to be interesting. Obviously, I hate picking chalk, but my picks are chalk, but I don't see anything changing. Like, unless major injuries happen, what changes in our picks?
They're not totally chalk because you have the Chiefs actually beating the Patriots.
I do have the Chiefs beating the Patriots because I think they get the home game. I think they're the number 1 seed. I think they get the home game, and I think finally Arrowhead becomes a place that the Chiefs can win divisional playoff games. I think this is where the Chiefs get over the hump. They beat the Patriots to get back to the Super Bowl.
I don't think necessarily Arrowhead is it Andy Reid that gets over the hump.
I just think there's too much talent. There's too much talent. Like, I don't know if you can screw up that much talent so often. This year, I don't think he screws up their talent. I think that the talent gets it done. I think it's Andy Reid's ineptitude in the playoffs.
Like you talked about earlier with Alabama, it's hard to go against New England because they're there.
They're going to win their division running away. Like, they chalk them up for a minimum of 11 wins because they're getting 6 just in their division. Like,
that division's going to be a little tougher this year. Buffalo's they're coming
improved.
I'm not saying they're going to be. I'm not saying they're going to win the division. The Jets are going to be better. How can they not be? You would think when you add Le'Veon Bell and Adam Gase, his offense going to get Bell involved. Gase didn't exactly work out in Miami, so on and so forth. They're going to be better. So it's not going to be as big of a runaway, I think, this year. It's not going to be as easy for them this year. I could see him losing.
Still win all 6.
I could see him. Maybe going 4-2.
No,
or 5-1.
They don't lose
I'm not
2.
saying
they might go 5-1. They're not losing 2 in that division.
It's very possible. You never know. But
they're winning the division. By the way, chalk it up. They're winning the division.
Well, of course they're going to win the division. On the NFC side, I don't have the Rams. You have the Rams getting the Super Bowl. I don't even have them making the conference title game, despite them paying.
Who beats them?
I like Minnesota. If they meet up, I really do like Minnesota.
But we said that in the past, and
except
Minnesota sucks.
I know, Dalvin Cook. I think he's going to have a big year. I do laugh at them for the fact that they traded a 5th-round pick for a kicker and then cut him a month later in training camp. So
don't ever trust a kicker.
Yeah, so
you'll like not trading draft picks for.
You'll like that. Yeah, I figured you would like that. So, yeah, if that matchup happens, I like the. I like them. I like the Vikings this year. I think this is it. I think this is kind of their last shot at it. And when I say last shot at it, I think this is it for Kirk Cousins. If he does not get it done this year, I think he may be looking for another home, even though Minnesota has committed a ton of money to him.
They pay that man a lot of money.
And I think the pressure is going to start getting turned up on Mike Zimmer. Like, yes, you've turned the team around. Yes, you have us contending for the playoffs. But it comes to a point.
I think the division is going to continue to improve too. Like this year,
that's going to be a brutal division.
Yeah, this year the division.
You could have 3 teams make the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, yet to be seen what Matt LaFleur does with Aaron Rodgers up in Green Bay, but not the Lions. But I think the Bears are obviously going to be in contention, and if the Packers are in contention, it's going to be a very tough division. And don't write off the Lions because they're not going to be terrible. Like the Lions have the ability to possibly make some noise in that division. I don't think it's going to happen, but they have the ability to make.
There's
some noise.
A gap between them and the other 3.
Like the top 3 are the top 3, but I think the Packers are closer to the Lions than they are to the Bears and the Vikings right now. Now we'll see what happens when they start playing football, but right now the Packers are 3rd. I would probably go Bears, Vikings, Packers, Lions in that order, but. Those top 3 can shuffle around in particular, end up in any particular order.
I would be shocked if all 3 make the playoffs.
It could happen with the NFC. It could happen.
So there you go. You have the Rams. You like the Rams to get all the way.
I like the Rams. I like the Rams to get there. I like the Chiefs and the Rams. We get the Super Bowl that we probably deserved last year. We get the Super Bowl that we deserved last year, save a terrible pass interference call. Which, by the way, reviewing penalties is the dumbest idea ever, by the way.
Oh, God, it was brutal.
So stupid. It is so stupid. Particularly because they still got one wrong. The pass interference, I forget what game it was. Pass interference, they reviewed it and let it run.
They did.
Despite the fact that the guy literally put like a pinky on him and they left the penalty in place. It was just astonishing.
There was another one where a receiver jumped over the top of a defender to catch the ball, and they called the receiver for offensive pass
he came back to get the ball. I remember that one too. He came back to get the ball. He jumps back. The defender doesn't even turn for the ball. The defender does not turn for the ball.
Yes.
He jumps over the defender, catches the ball. They call offensive pass interference. They throw the flag to review it. You think, oh, okay, they're going to get this one right. The defender didn't even turn around. The offensive player's making a play on the ball, and they left the call in place. It is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea because one thing that's going to happen is, one, you're going to see officials throw more flags because now they know that there's an out for them if they screwed it up.
Yep.
So more flags are going to be thrown, which is going to slow the game down, which is going to cause a lot more reviews, and it's going to get fans more angry. Like,
hey, Mike Brown can sell more beer.
There you go. But you screw up enough calls as it is. Now you're going to give them ability to screw up more because they have an out because they can be reviewed now, which is just stupid. It's judgment calls. It's like having the automatic umpire behind the plate. It's a judgment call, and sometimes there has to be a human element in football. Like, should we just have everything watched on TV and not even put officials on the field, and we just call everything from a TV monitor?
And the way it's going, it's taking the judgment out of the game because now it's basically, to your point, I think it's telling the officials, when in doubt, throw it.
Just throw it, and we'll see if we were wrong. Like, I don't like taking the human element out of it. I know there's calls that get screwed up, and I know there's things that happen that shouldn't happen. And
it's the same thing.
It's the human element in the game. It happens in baseball. It happens in basketball. Like, it happens all the time. Like, baseball, a kid lost a friggin' perfect game because of a bad call, and they didn't have review at the time, and that's one reason they added it.
They're trying
but it's the human element. Like, you have to allow that stuff to happen.
It's the same thing with like baseball. The rumors being discussed of having robotics call balls and strikes. You're trying to perfect an imperfect game. Yeah. It doesn't matter the sport, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, hockey, golf, whatever the case may be. We're always trying to perfect a game that is never going to be perfect.
And it's one of those things that it takes some strategy out of the game. Umpires have different strike zones, and the guys who are doing it are in those positions for a reason. Like, this isn't your volunteer little league umpire getting to the Major League Baseball,
unless it's Angel Hernandez.
This isn't a guy who calls the high school football games that I coach on Friday nights. Doesn't coach or doesn't ref NFL football games. They don't. Like, they're very highly paid professionals for a reason, and you see the way those guys conduct themselves. Like, they're all in shape. They're running all over the field. Like, that is their job, and they take it seriously, and they're paid to do a job. It's a human element, and you're taking the human element out of the game for the sake of fans who are angry about silly calls that happen all the time. Like, raise your hand if your team's never been screwed by an NFL official. Like,
Twitter tough guys.
None of you should have your hand up because every team has been screwed to some point by an NFL official. Like, let it happen. Like, who cares? But by the way, if you're disappointed by an NFL franchise and the result from a game, then that's your fault for having a shitty life. Get a better life. If you're disappointed by the result of an NFL football game and it ruins your day, you need a better life. I'm sorry. But
and also
don't take the human element out of football. Let the human element go.
If you're the team, don't put yourself in a situation where the official can make
don't leave it up to the officials. Like, we say it all the time to our high school kids. Like, was it a bad call by the official? Yeah. But don't put it in the hands of the official. Like, if we do what we're supposed to do and we play the game we're supposed to play, the officials won't have any bearing on it because we'll be already winning the game.
How many times did you get called for holding in college?
Some, but not a lot.
Did you ever think you held?
I held every freaking play. But did I ever think when they called it, would I ever think it was a good call? No. There was there was one I thought was a good call, and it was a good call by him, but we ended up getting a personal foul because the guy stood up and punched me. But
okay, so that's one time in your
one time I thought that the official was right.
You thought the official was right.
Every NFL player is never going to say, "Oh, yep, you were right. That was holding. Oh, yep, you were right. That was pass interference." Like, no, it's a human element. Let it go. Stupid.
So hopefully we don't have any of that going.
Don't review penalties. Dumb NFL. You're stupid.
Well, hopefully we don't have that when the games are really counting in the postseason. So that being said, now, who wins the Super Bowl?
Your way too early Super Bowl prediction. I have the Kansas City Chiefs beating the LA Rams 27-23. Way too early prediction.
We're starting the season
way
tonight.
too early.
No. You got this is what
injuries.
This is what we all do. Everybody does it.
Mid-season trades. But
Everybody
we
does
got to
it.
start somewhere. You made me pick a score, which I don't like doing because I like to be vague. But 27-23 Chiefs over the Rams.
Okay, I have New Orleans winning the Super Bowl this year, and I have them beating New England, and you see the score 34-29. I even thinking about this, I want to step further. The Saints win it. Drew Brees walks
off the field.
Off.
I wondered that when I saw your pick. I was going to ask you.
Yep.
If that is the case, is that Drew Brees' final game?
That's it.
You think so?
Why would he go on any further? He has nothing left to prove.
Concurrently, if it happens the other way and Tom Brady wins,
nope.
Is it Tom Brady's final game?
I'm never going to predict a Tom Brady retirement until he actually says I'm done. Nope. That dude is a cyborg. He will play until Bill Belichick is in a wheelchair.
Yeah, Bill Belichick will be coaching, or he'll be coaching from a hospital bed. Like, what was it? Oh shoot, the college coach that coached from a hospital bed.
Yeah, the guy from Liberty. I can't remember his name.
And he used to be a bigger head coach too, but he coached from a hospital bed up in the booth. But
right,
Bill Belichick may coach from a hospital bed one day, and Tom Brady might be playing in a wheelchair. Who knows? Like they may play that long that Tom Brady has to walk out on the field with a cane, hands it to the official so he can throw, and then the official hands it back to him. Similar to a Byron Leftwich situation where they carry him down the field to first downs.
Carry him on the field because he's got a sprained ankle and he was at Marshall.
Yeah, by the way, Byron Leftwich, the biggest quarterback I've ever seen in my life. We played him in Mount Pleasant, and he was literally like the largest human being I've seen playing quarterback in my life.
You didn't see Jared Lorenzen.
I didn't see Jared Lorenzen. Rest in peace, by the way.
Absolutely.
Hefty lefty, rest in peace. By the way, credit to Eli Manning for going to his son's youth game. That was pretty awesome.
He also attended the funeral, came into Northern Kentucky and attended the funeral.
As much as it's hashtag Eli's fault, credit to Eli for doing that. They were teammates together with New York. Jared Lorenzen actually got a Super Bowl ring.
And when they
won,
when they had the Bengals played the Giants in the preseason, they had the youth team where it's Lorenzen's son and his nephew were on opposing teams, and Lorenzen's son threw a touchdown pass to his nephew, and Eli was there and came up and said hi to his kids and stuff. Yeah, it was very cool. So respect Eli for that. We dump on you a lot for your playing abilities.
Respect to you as a person, though, Eli. We know you're a good person. I know you're never going to listen to the show, but we know Eli Manning's a good person. But we like to blame him for a lot of the woes, even though it's hashtag Eli's fault.
Kentucky is going to do a full tribute to Lorenzen when they play Arkansas a little bit later this year, because that was one of the big games from Lorenzen. When Kentucky played Arkansas, they went to like 7 overtimes, won that game. Yep. Supposedly, Terry Wilson's going to wear number 22 that game, so that'll be cool. So
that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't know, Jared Lorenzen is a legend in Kentucky football.
Yes.
Northern Kentucky, which is where he grew up, which is obviously where you grew up. A legend at Highlands High School.
Hated him in high school, but he went to Lexington, so
he was a likable person, and if you ever watched an interview with him, even as he got up in age and as he got unfortunately he got fatter, and what ended up costing him his life is he got more and more overweight. A very good person and someone that you can look up to as a person. He was a very, very kind-hearted person. Truly a loss. Obviously, has a son. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that his demons and just kind of caught up with him. He just couldn't stop what he was used to.
He built a business in Kentucky making like T-shirts that say various things. They take shots at Louisville, so on and so forth. It's called Throwboy Tees. Pillsbury Throwboy is what he was known as. Throwboy Tees, go check them out and give them some love. Buy a shirt from them because I believe they're still donating to the memorial fund set up for him. So check them out.
His son, so.
Check them out. Throwboy Tees online. You Google them. They got all kinds of shirts. Like I said, they're Kentucky based, but I'm sure they'll have something there.
As long as you like funny sports tees, like that.
They've got a good selection there. So here's our. Let's recap. Here are our Super Bowl picks again. I have the Saints over the Patriots. Adam has the Chiefs over the Rams. And then the college football picks. Here are your playoff picks. We both have Clemson winning the title over different SEC schools. I have Georgia beating Alabama in the SEC title game. Adam has it the other way around. And then Adam has Oklahoma in the playoff, and I have Ohio State as a 3 seed, and neither team getting to the title game, as you can see right there.
No.
On your screen.
Neither of them is beating the SEC champion. Whichever team it is, neither of them are beating the SEC champ, who will be the number 2 seed. number 1 seed will be the Clemson Tigers.
Absolutely. So there you go. And also our upset picks of the week. I have Colorado over 25th ranked Nebraska. You're going with the Maction.
Maction, Ohio Bobcats over Pittsburgh at Heinz Field.
There you go. So we're glad to be back with you for our 3rd season here on Fumblegate. Make sure you're following us on the facebook.com/Fumblegate. Twitter handles at the bottom of the screen. I'm at Jason Grefer. Follow the show at Fumblegate. Mr. Kieft.
At Fumblegate Fatty. And on YouTube, like, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Every time we come live, it'll pop up on your phone or mobile device or on your computer. And as always, you can watch a video, share it with your friends, let everybody know what we're doing out here. We're just 2 guys who like talking football.
That's right.
And I'm not very good at it, but this is what this guy does. And so, come hang out with us every week.
Who does Turpin take
Turpin
on this
Spartans
week?
playing the Northwest Vikings this week. We're playing up at Northwest. Got a little bit of a trip up north of Hamilton. Should be a good one for us. Yeah, they're unfortunately they're just not very good. We should be okay. I hate to guarantee it, but this is one of those weeks that
you should handle business.
Our starters should not play the whole game this week.
Should handle business.
Handle business.
So we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll follow them every week as season goes along. We're back every week now, so stay tuned with us each and every week on the social media, and of course, right here on YouTube as well. So we thank you so much for watching, and we'll get the football season started this week and go forward right here on Fumblegate.